Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by the players, for the players. Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community.
Scott, can you hear us? So Scott's trying to call as well.
I'm patiently waiting. I'm enjoying the conversation here.
You know what, Scott? We want to know, what are your thoughts around the market correlation? Oh God, the words just aren't working today. I'm sorry. Correlation. That's the thing I was going for. What are your thoughts on the market's correlation, crypto versus stock?
So crypto versus equities.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say. I'd say right now we could do some simple regression analysis to see. I haven't actually done it, but I would assume that there is some pretty strong correlation with probably a higher beta for cryptocurrency, meaning that if the market goes down 2%, if the stock market goes down 2%, maybe crypto will go down 5 to 7. That would be like higher beta, but still correlated. And the reason I think that is because, it's just kind of in the earlier days of this market. It's still a speculative asset. It's still not well defined as a asset class. There's still lots of regulation that needs to take place for it to be considered anything other than a risk-on asset. In traditional investing, there's kind of two types of assets. There's risk-on and risk-off. Risk-on would be like speculative tech stocks that are booming during like a bull cycle. Risk off would be something like just investing broadly in an index fund, right? That's just or even just in gold or treasury. Treasury bonds would be like the most risk off asset you can get, right? When shit's hitting the fan, people look for risk off. When people can't, the economy is tanking and people are thinking about how they're going to pay their mortgage and stuff, the last thing they're thinking about is, should I put any extra money that I have into Bitcoin? People are thinking about the essentials, right? So that's kind of that's my view on it.
We want it to get to the other way, right? When the market's tanking, they start thinking about Bitcoin. Throw all the money in Bitcoin and be safe. But one day.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just think it needs more maturity for that to happen, and it can get there. I mean, there's no doubt that in terms, if we were looking at like total supply numbers, if like the US dollar actually was like very transparent in terms of total supply on coin market cap or something, it would have blown through the roof these last couple years. So that's definitely happening, and we'll kind of see the mid to long term effects of that.
Cool. Yeah. So I think we'll kick off as well. So there's a few people here as usual. So this is a recorded session, but that shouldn't stop anyone and everyone from asking questions. I notice, for example, Gio, who's quite a frequent talker on the podcast, does not open his mouth during these sessions, but he types all his questions in the Telegram chat. So if you are shy, please just ask away. We do have Scott here, so while he's here to talk everything balanced, I tend to get in some questions about the foundation, Icon 2.0, and anything else that Scott has his hand in. I did notice a new site that has gone up, Scott, which I think it's in your, I saw a picture of you, Ricky, and Dakey. I want to come to that. I want to quiz you on that, get a bit more info around it. But we'll come back to that in a moment. I think first things first, some rules around this. Guys, everyone stay on mute. Iconographer, you can be the exception. But if you want to talk, just unmute yourself. To me, I'm looking at the screen. As soon as I see you unmuted, I'll start to shut up or wrap up if I'm talking, and you can ask away your questions, because it is also for the community to ask Scott or anyone any questions they have. But otherwise, I'll just ramble through things I want to know about, or anything the community has posted in the chats, wanting me, because they couldn't attend, they want me to ask. So first things first, does anyone want to ask any questions straight off the bat to Scott, or do they want me to kick things off?
I've got one that I don't know if I'll have the answer for or not, but I kind of pinged him about this earlier. But some of this morning, or at least this morning my time, there were issues with Solana. Obviously, Solana has been kind of labeled as a potential Ethereum killer and stuff like that. And then the chain kind of went down for several hours. I think I don't know if they ever got it fully functional or not. But I guess, and I don't know if Scott actually preferred this question because it's something up in May, or if he's been following it at all. And if he doesn't have an answer, that's totally fine. But figured I'd throw it out there. It seemed like the Solana got spammed pretty heavily due to, ironically, the low transaction fees. Is there, as far as potential something like that happening with Icon 2.0, Scott, is there anything that's, it's built differently or anything like that? Or is that just always a risk that's potentially, it's one of the trade-offs that you make is basically speed versus potentially, I guess, reliability and security. Do you have any kind of just reflections on what happened with Solana today or anything like that? And if not, it came out of nowhere, the question did. So I'll understand if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of don't know enough about Solana's architecture to say like, oh, this is what happened to Solana and this is how Icon would be better.
Okay.
I would assume anybody is susceptible to a DDoS attack or anything similar, any sort of spamming. If there is no cost, if the cost is so cheap that it becomes, like it makes sense to attack the network and then short it, then that's something people are going to do. I can say that Icon 2.0, this was like briefly mentioned on the Icon community forum, that we have a new transaction fee policy. Anyone who's running PREPs knows that we have had brief network outages from like transactions taking too long and like from spamming as well. Not to the extent that we're seeing with Solana right now, but again, I don't know enough about the situation to comment. But
right,
I know Icon 2.0, we put more effort into the transaction fee policy, making sure that for more complex transactions that take longer to execute, you are certainly paying more of a premium for that. So it's just more of a logical transaction fee policy that kind of makes more sense than what we have currently on the Python contracts.
Yeah, as much as people kind of point at Ethereum and say, okay, these fees are too ridiculous, that's why it's not sustainable, whatever. At the end of the day, it does kind of make it a lot. When gas fees are as high as they are, it makes it a lot harder to do that sort of spam transaction attack that kind of happened on Solana, just because it's so prohibitively expensive to do it. So as much as people kind of like use that as a point to the gas fees as almost like a bug, in that respect, they're kind of serve as a feature because it makes it way harder. And then someone else mentioned, basically, EOS a while back basically had basically free transactions, which on paper sounds awesome, and it's that's got to be superior chain because they're free. It basically dealt with similar problems where it would just get attacked relentlessly just because it was basically free to do so. So and when you mention more takes longer for more complex transactions, I assume you mean like longer relative to the very quick ones you can do now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine you're not going to be sitting there. You're not going to be sitting there for several minutes. You're not going to be sitting there for several minutes. It's going to be a little bit longer, but it's still going to be pretty fast.
No, that's I think just misinterpreting what I was saying is like sorry.
Most of the attacks I've seen, like batch. I mean, on the Icon network is just people just sending like batch sender attacks and things. It's nothing too bad that we handled. The Icon Foundation actually stepped up. We've been undergoing this for 7 or 8 months now. Solana's just we're just we're all interconnected here, so we have to look Solana and try to find some analogs that can work to our network and. But we're in a little better place than them. But they're ranked so high that as you get up there, you start becoming even bigger target, and the stakes become higher. And so, for me, personally, we're at a good place right here. The foundation's listening. Good Lord, we are in such a good place right here. It is beautiful. And that's all I wanted to say. It's been a great day for me personally, and and we can sit here and pick Solana apart or anybody else. I saw that this morning, and didn't even pay it any mind. They'll recover and be fine. I don't know.
I think it's more about just look, comparing, you always got to see what happens out there to see how well protected we are. I think that's a good one. I didn't know about it. I woke up to the article Iconographer sent me, and I was just reading up on it. But I've seen this sort of something different happen with Avalanche. They were a little while back again, something they got spammed and their chain froze, and similar, they had to put some steps into place there. We've seen in a different scenario, Ethereum has had this happen twice, not this spamming attack, but their Get nodes or something, one of the infrastructure have done some updates, which has indirectly caused a hard fork in Ethereum, and then all the other nodes have to update. This has happened twice now this year. So there's all kinds of variations that happen, but I think in this case it's a good one. And Scott, it was a good call out for the if we were to get spammed, how the fees work and things like that to reduce, well, hopefully reduce that.
I just want to clarify that when I said longer transactions, I'm not saying like we increase the block time, still 2-second finality for transactions, but some transactions take longer to execute than others, and those ones need to be more expensive, or there's no reason to make to optimize your code.
Yeah. Don't take away our 2-second blocks. Jesus, that's our winning.
It is an important feature. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Cool. Okay. Well, I think someone have a question?
I was gonna say there's a question and written by the Shmoo in our thing. He's asking, just want to hear your opinion. Do you guys expect a dump in the stock market? How are you managing the risk percent of your loans in terms of balance and OMM? I want to speculate on the stock market just because we kind of already did that, but also I don't know enough to give any sort of prediction one way or another. But I guess in terms of managing risk and things like that, I think it's up to how much everyone wants to tolerate. I think the best, I think the most sound approach is to kind of play out various scenarios in your head and say, okay, I like look at, I back in May or whatever, early May, I guess, or mid-May, when ICX fell from like mid $2 to down to, I think it bottomed at like 64 cents or something like that. That was a scenario that I certainly didn't envision being possible. I imagine a lot of other people didn't envision being possible, but I imagine when it happened, it really messed with a lot of people's, positions on at that time just balance, but now we have OMM as well. So, and I know people got liquidated as a result as well. So it certainly, became a very real problem. So I would just say, try to game out, the likelihood of various things happening, kind of sit yourself and say, okay, I'm taking out a loan that puts me at X percent now, and X percent puts my liquidation price at Y. What are the odds that I think, if I go away for a vacation for a week and I'm away from my wallet, what are the chances that ICX can fall from the price it is now to that price? And, I think it's certainly probably possible, but you just have to kind of game out what you think the likelihood is. So, it's everyone's kind of personal approach. I don't know if anyone else has different strategies or approach it differently, but that's kind of a lesson I learned from that first one, because even I got pretty, I felt the market was moving up and I said, okay, we've got so much upward momentum here. We'll probably have some dips, but I didn't foresee anything like that crazy. And it created some headaches on my side. So, I definitely approach it now and I kind of keep my mind open to basically every possibility out there. So, that's at least my perspective on that.
I'd like to follow in that I really don't do DeFi or anything, and borrowing against your crypto is a good idea until it isn't. And, you can take risk, maybe 10 or 15% to borrow against, and that would be reckless for me, maybe 5%, that I borrow against. As long as it's within a safe margin, then you'll probably be able to be liquid enough to be okay. You don't put 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90%. Good Lord, that's asking for it, because, let's face it. In the time that we've been in the icon space for 3 or 4 years now, and several of us have been in this space for a lot longer than this, the bottoms are a lot harder than the highs. And so, just take it within measure and be safe. And, you lock some capital up, and if you set it, you know, you don't have to worry so much if you can afford to not really worry about it. That's my point. You know, being safe in the space.
And lastly, look on that, Dusty, it's a good call out. Look, you know, and I can graph your example is perfect. You live, you learn. That's probably the biggest thing in DeFi as well. Even being prepared, I seem to make similar mistakes over and over again until eventually I don't. Now, what I think, let's keep pushing forward. I wanted to kind of, Scott, while you're with us, let's get a real big download on. Run through the standard topic balance. Well, the update was great. I noticed now we have our blog, which is fantastic. It goes to show how much I pay attention to the website that in the last episode, when Icongrapher was running through all the balance stats, I'm like, where are you getting all these stats from? And it just happens to be another tab on the balance website that you click on and you can see all the stats. I just bypass all that information and go straight into the DApp constantly. So lesson learned, but now there's a blog there, and you've recently just dropped a new update, and there's quite a lot being covered there. I wanted to get your thoughts on the big one that I saw was obviously the revamped rebalancing feature. How is this going in your eyes now that we are on mainnet? Want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think like with rebalancing these days, I mean, the next step I would say is to tighten up the peg a little bit. I think like one of the main problems is that it's at 5% drift, so it's really difficult for it to get above $1 at any point. So it's constantly just like every time it's there's rebalancing that occurs, it'll drift back down. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think the improvements that we've made are considerable. The initial implementation had the rebalancing was not very like smooth, if you will, against all borrowers. So we lowered the amount that gets rebalanced per group by a very significant amount, so that way it's spread out much more evenly across all borrowers. So that's one huge improvement. The next one was the fact that the all benefits of rebalancing, like the arbitrage opportunity, goes to borrowers as opposed to arbitrage traders that are triggering it. And then we also now have the bidirectional peg. So BNUSD, you can comfortably say, once we have enough people participating in the rebalancing process and understanding how to make money from it, I'm even considering adding it to the user interface, just so that way people can click a button and adjust the price of SICX to try and benefit. Oh man, I just lost my train of thought there. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have the bidirectional peg, so we'll have it won't drift by more than whatever we say. So right now the community has it set at 5%, but I'm going to start kind of leading a charge to move it from 5% to 4% progressively, as close as we feel comfortable or even necessary. I don't really think it's necessary to have it any closer than like 1%. Would be like the closest I think is necessary. But what's really important about this is having BNUSD be an actual stablecoin. Like a lot of the same people that are unhappy with rebalancing are also unhappy that when they borrow BNUSD, they have to pay a 5% premium over ICX price. And that is because the rebalancing peg is so loose. So in order for BNUSD to be a sustainable stablecoin and be added to products like Ohm, where people can comfortably use it as collateral and borrow against it without fear of liquidation, the peg needs to be tighter. And ultimately, there is a psychological factor of having your collateral sold and your debt repaid, but ultimately rebalancing is a function that always sells at a premium for you and buys at a discount. So it is beneficial to borrowers. A lot of people, it takes a lot of education and explanation to get people to understand that or be comfortable with it, but ultimately it's working as intended and keeping the peg where we want it to be. We just need to tighten that up.
So Scott, when you say leading the charge, so to tighten that up, is it more are proposals required to do that, or is it just?
Yeah, no. If you look at like the new votes that we launched, like anybody right now who meets the requirements, there's like you have to have 10 basis points of the network staked to submit a proposal. But anyone who meets those requirements can submit a proposal to change a number of different things. One of them is the rebalancing threshold.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, that's a good
So,
one.
yeah,
I was
probably kick off the discussion on the forum pretty soon.
Yeah. Awesome.
I also go ahead.
No, Scott, please just keep talking.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to bring up that I was talking to some of our smart contract guys about is that if you participate in the SICX BNUSD pool and are a borrower, I tweeted about this the other day. This essentially provides a automatic buyback of the ICX that was sold, right? So if you can imagine a situation where you are the only borrower on Balanced and you're the only liquidity provider, and let's say 2 ICX of your collateral is sold, then who bought it, right? The liquidity providers bought it and you bought it from yourself. So if you maintain a similar amount, percentage of debt as you are in the liquidity pool, you're on average trading against yourself, and any ICX of your collateral that's sold gets sold to the liquidity pool, which you own a share of, so you're selling it to yourself. So it is a way to automatically counteract the effects of rebalancing.
And sorry, Scott, was which liquidity pool more against SICX to BNUSD, right?
Right, yeah, because that's what borrowers are trading against when their collateral is sold. They trade against that pool.
So to put it simply, if I borrowed 5,000 BNUSD and I have a total of $5,000 in that liquidity pool, essentially I've just hedged against myself. I wouldn't be at a loss even with rebalancing.
No, it's more. It's percentage based. So if you're 1% of the BNUSD supply is your debt, and then you would also want to target to be around 1% of the liquidity pool.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And you can it's kind of a passive way to get it done, but I know Brian is working on something to actually repurchase the exact amount that was sold as soon as it happens. And I know I saw another community member asking about it. They're building a bot for themselves. So that's obviously the most precise way to do it. But passively, I did realize that the SICX BNUSD pool is a direct hedge against rebalancing.
Yeah, cool. That's good. Okay, is there anything else, Scott, from the rebalancing perspective? I think that was a great update. Anything else you want to make mention? Otherwise, we'll put rebalancing to rest.
No, I mean, I think I covered everything I wanted to there.
Cool. I haven't seen any microphones go off, so I'll keep moving. Okay. So look, this is a good one, and I thought let's spend a bit of time talking about this. Scott, I noticed there's a big push to move a lot of the community from Telegram into Discord. A bit of work going on, especially it started with Ohm, Rise Ohm DAO's in there as well. We've got Balance now migrating. Do you want to talk to us about the people who will eventually listen to this podcast, why we're actively pushing into Discord?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a much better way to have a cohesive community, right? Like you have Telegram, like I'm looking at my Telegram right now, and I have like hundreds of chats and channels, and there's absolutely no organization besides pinning to the top. And then I open up the Balanced Discord, and I'm like, oh wow, there's trading discussion, there's general chat, there's governance discussion, there's a channel directly for support. We have developer discussion. We even have a Spanish channel. The activity feed. I mean, all of it is in one room essentially, and much just easier to organize. So it's much better to have it's a way to create a much more cohesive community. Like if somebody is in the is only in the traders chat, right? Like they're gonna miss out. They're not even gonna have the opportunity to see the discussion that happens on the governance side unless they specifically joined a governance channel, right, and monitor it. So if you're in the Balanced Discord server, you're immediately exposed to all this stuff, even if you don't necessarily care. You'll see all the unread messages and maybe check it out.
And,
It's
and
also
Discord's good.
seems harder to scam people too.
Harder to what?
Well, Discord's good.
yeah, look, it's definitely the place. I mean, Iconists need to migrate across to a lot more work is going there, and I'm sure there'll be a few more announcements on that as well. But okay, that's great. I just want to touch on that. I think Scott, Dusty, valid points, and the main point as well is it enables information on different topics for the dApps, because balance isn't just about, and there's so many aspects to it. It enables channels, and then people can actually talk about those specific topics through those channels. And also from a support perspective, when we see people having issues, it can get lost in Telegram. So Discord's a great way. There's a support channel. You can put your questions in there. They get answered, and they can get ticked off as being sorted, especially for community members who help out as well in those spaces. Okay, I will keep moving on. Scott, one thing I wanted to ask you, so since Ohm launched and with the pools that came across the Ohm liquidity pools, well, once we take the LPs and put them back into the Ohm website, on the Ohm side of things, I noticed it skews all the percentages and things like that. I'm betting this is really ticking off Lisa and Peter. Is there any plans to tackle that component of the liquidity aspect?
That's not going to be possible just from the, I think the only reason people feel this way is because there's like only 2 projects in the Icon ecosystem. So everyone feels like they're attached, and everything Balance knows Ohm should also know, and everything Ohm knows Balance should also know. But imagine there's like 1,000 projects having incentive programs on Balanced. Like, are we really going to have our front end team search out every smart contract that's offering an incentive program on Balanced and make sure that we track those liquidity tokens, and that if they change their smart contract API, then it breaks our network and we have no communication with the team? These things aren't scalable, and like, it's really the idea of composability, right? We don't need to know what's going on with Ohm. Ohm doesn't need to know what's going on with Balanced. We can hook our products into each other with absolutely no collaboration whatsoever. And we don't want to start building those like, it's called coupling, right? We don't want to start coupling the Balanced front end to every single app that's offering an incentive program to deposit liquidity, because then our app depends entirely on the smart contract development skills and practices of anyone offering a program on our app.
Yep. No, fair enough. So on that, since we're talking liquidity pools, etc., I noticed in your update there was a point that called out rerouting, and I saw a real Dave did a bit of a breakdown. So is it in the next update or soon we'll expect we don't have to bounce between 4 different pairs to get to, say if I want to move BNUSD to USDS, I wouldn't have to move it through to, IUSDC into Ohm into USDS. So will it automatically route based on just the options we pick?
Right. Yeah, that is exactly what we're working on. Trust me, all of us are very excited for that. Like claiming of like 5 or 6 or 7 different token types right now as network fees is fun and all, but when it comes to swapping them around and converting between stablecoins, it definitely becomes a nuisance. So just to be clear, it is just a user experience thing, right? Like, all that's happening is they're going from IUSDC to USDS, and on the user experience, it looks like it's 1 trade. It is still going to be 2 trades, and you still are going to pay 2 fees, but it does look and feel much easier and cleaner.
Yeah. Okay. So it's essentially stacking the transactions up. So you're still paying per transaction. It's just cool. No, that's great. That's awesome. Because I can't tell you how unproductive I've been in my day job trying to look for ARB opportunities and just constantly just swapping between each of the pairs to see if there's anything there. This is why, Brian, your widget I can't wait for, and I hound you regularly because I'm falling behind and work.
I think you're gonna have a hard time finding arbitrage at this point on as a front end like retail user. I know that we've seen somebody that includes an arbitrage check in every single block that's produced. So every 2 seconds, somebody is checking if there's an arbitrage and trying to capture it. So good luck, happy hunting, but I don't expect you to beat whoever that is. And it's no one.
There's still some out there.
There's no one. I don't know who it is, to be honest.
Yeah. Brian, you were saying something?
Oh, just give me one second. I'll be right back.
Sorry. It's funny though, but it really is true. I mean, Brian's got a bot running every 2 seconds or less, looking for arbitrage opportunities. And I mean, that's genius, man. And I mean, it really is beautiful.
Okay. Look, I think Gio's comment really summed it up as well. Brian had obviously saw an arb opportunity and ran off to take advantage of it. So let's come back. I think I wanted to ask.
I'm checking the activity feed right now to see if he does it.
I wanted to as well, Scott. I know we have limited time here. Post the hour, the session can continue and we can all keep chatting. I'm all game for that. But I wanted to ask you one thing. So BNUSD, we've talked about the peg, we've talked about a few things there. What about utility? For example, getting it on Ohm as a money market, getting it maybe even paired up with Ohm, because I noticed one of the things, Ohm has a pairing with everything. Do you think if Ohm had a pairing with BNUSD, it would help in any way as well tighten the peg, or that would be completely irrelevant?
I think both of those could potentially be an impact. The Ohm BNUSD pair not being there, which is a good point that I hadn't really considered. That would imply that people are buying SICX with BNUSD and then selling the SICX for Ohm, which could be a potential route that people are taking. Same with going through the IUSDC pair. I don't think incentivizing that pool would be a good use of funds, though. Maybe like a really small amount, but there's a lot of, as we add more pairs, there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed in terms of the incentivized pools. And you're talking about utility. I think like tightening the peg is an essential next step to get added to Ohm, or else like users who are expecting to be able to deposit the stablecoin could have 10% swings in their collateral value from above 5% to below 5%, which is could be dangerous to users. So tightening the peg is essential to get there, and that'll help a lot, having the ability to deposit on Ohm and earn yield on it. So that I'm excited about. I'm sure that'll happen at some point. And then the other piece is, as we add more, like the vision that I'm having here is that as we add more collateral types, so let's say we add Ethereum next, then we would have an Ethereum BNUSD pool that would have some incentives with it. And that Ethereum BNUSD pool would be the incentivized pair. And it would be used for rebalancing ETH borrowers. So we need to have like a trading pair of BNUSD against something for every collateral type is how I'm feeling. So once we have, and that'll enable rebalancing for that collateral type. And then as we have more collateral types and more pairs, that means you can buy more stuff with BNUSD, right? If you could buy Bitcoin with it, that would be great. If you could buy Ethereum with it, that would be great. And as we add, we have all these BTP partners we're working with, and the amount of assets you'll be able to buy with BNUSD will continue to grow.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Interject. Can I ask a question about Bridge? I mean, that's y'all's project, and when can we expect, because it would be really awesome on the back end to really develop Bridge to where anybody with a widget can get verified and, supply a few bucks or 50 cents or whatever. I mean, the back end is huge on this deal. So where are we with that? If I could ask a question, and I know it's nascent, and I mean, but it, personally, it kind of feels a little top heavy, and that's okay. But it would be nice to have a widget that can be incorporated directly into the wallet where anybody can kind of come along and buy some tokens and do what they want to do with them, whether it's bet on Icon Bet or anything else. And I was just wondering, when we could kind of expect something like that, because that would be groundbreaking.
Yeah, I'm not exactly
Sorry.
sure what. I'm pretty sure other apps could integrate Bridge Wallet if they wanted to. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And I do plan on implementing it in Balanced as well. And anyone who's interested in implementing it should reach out to them in their Telegram channel, I would say, or on Twitter.
So it's not open.
I think you can do it. No, well, no, it's not. Bridge is not an open source software. No, it's a wallet. Yeah, and it I think trying to think how you would implement Bridge right now.
We can look at that. Let's see.
I'm not
Yeah,
exactly
that's
sure,
cool.
to be honest.
I
don't really work on Bridge very much.
Right.
Well, let's let's take that to. We can ask that into the Telegram. I know, and ask. I know Brian also has.
It says
a bit
email
of,
us, and we'll help you add Bridge to your product. So you just need to contact the team.
Yeah.
I was just on their website.
Because I know.
Cool. Because I know. Talk to them. Because like reaching out to anybody, if you make it easier, I think Bridge is critically important. I know you worked hard on it, and it's critically important to make it easier, not more difficult, not more hurdles, just dead right, stupid easy. So we'll look at that.
Definitely reach out to them. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Dusty. Okay, so then Scott, the other aspect I wanted to ask. So we've seen. I noticed we had a bit of a gloat. We're on market, coin market cap, balance, BNUSD, and I got my train of thought back on my past one, but I'll finish this. Now that we have this integration built, will it be easier when we start seeing more IRC20 tokens, dApps launch, Gangster Bet, and Optimus and stuff? Because now we've finally got it on there, should this speed up the entire process of getting listed on these third-party sites because the architecture infrastructure is there?
I think, Balance was tough because it was an exchange, like getting the exchange APIs set up to their liking and, coordinating with their team if there was any issues was the harder part. And I think Ohm, I don't actually think Daki did anything specific to get it added. I think it's possible that either a community member did it or CoinMarketCap automatically picked it up because it was on the Balanced API. So yes, should be easier than when Balanced had to do it.
Okay, that's good news for everyone out there listening as well, because I know cool. The other point was around the liquidity. The reason why I called out this Ohm BNUSD, because obviously the biggest ARB opportunities I've always seen is between the Ohm USDC and USDS pairs, and then obviously BNUSD missing would kind of complete that circle. But you mentioned about rewarding that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Balanced rewarding that. Ohm's rewarding the other three pairs, and if Ohm can split their rewards into, again, this would have to get voted on.
That's possible, of course. I didn't really think of that. That's possible.
That Ohm hasn't got their proposal piece on up and running yet, is it? From my understanding,
no. But thanks to we kind of have a lot of code that they can leverage, so that's nice. We're leveraging a lot of their code for continuous rewards as well. And if you guys can see just how much faster we can start to develop as somebody, just to lay the foundation and lay the groundwork, and best practices start coming and people can leverage each other's code, you can start to see how the Ethereum ecosystem blew up so fast.
Yeah, totally.
Why EVM compatibility chains just come out of nowhere and they're like, we have 50 dApps, and it's a lot of similar code from other existing apps, which is fine, and that's good. I mean, that's the nature of open source and innovation.
So on that then, Scott, once we have ICE launch, and I'm not going to quiz you about the token or anything like that. More around balance. So, say Polygon and Ethereum, right? Let's take Aave. When Aave, they were running on Ethereum, now they're deployed on Polygon, and it's simple as switching the wallet into a different network. Are we going to see something like that happen with Balanced and Ohm? Actually have a deployment on the EVM chain, or will it be strictly sticking to Icon?
I'm a little torn on that for Balanced. Daki definitely has his, I don't know how Daki feels about Ohm. But yeah, I'm a little torn. We're going to do the rewrite into Java, and I do like the idea of building on an interoperability hub, which is actually, unique amongst other kind of interoperability solutions. Like if you look at Cosmos, the hub they plan on using is the Cosmos hub. It doesn't support smart contracts, so you can't build directly on the hub. Polkadot is a similar architecture with the parachains and then the relay chain, but you can't build directly on the relay chain. And building directly on Icon gives you the lowest latency cross-chain transactions. So if that really does become important in the future, I think I'd want kind of the home base to be on an interoperability hub that is, connected to many different networks directly without having to, wait for messages to be passed between multiple networks.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. Cool. No, that's good. So then, yeah. Okay. No. The liquidity, because that's where it starts to come into play, right? Like once you decide to, especially for balance, or well, for anything, on a different network, again, then it's about liquidity. Because how would it work with BTP? No, I'm drifting too much. Sorry, let me rein it back in.
I just want to be clear. I'm not talking about liquidity. I'm not talking about who's going to have the most slippage or the deepest liquidity pools. When I say low latency, I'm talking about the transaction speed and finality, right?
Yeah.
Icon has 2 second blocks. Other networks have even faster blocks. So
we'll be faster than that, though. We'll be faster than that. 2 second blocks will be.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott. Yeah, you were saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So like when you think about what it means to if you're not building directly on the hub, you need to wait for the Icon finality, which is 2 seconds. You need to wait for, let's see. All right. Yeah. I don't want, I was thinking of running through an example, but without a whiteboard and a diagram, it's going to be tough. But just realize that you need to wait for a message to be passed and finalized on multiple networks, and then a confirmation to come back. So if you're directly on the hub, you're communicating directly with each network. So it's going to be faster is the key reason that I was trying to point out with a low latency for cross-chain.
Okay. Yeah. Because I think this was one of the other questions I was going to round up to, because from a BTP perspective, just shifting gears, one of the big selling points, apart from everything else, is once you're in the BTP network, essentially you don't need to keep moving it via Icon into every other chain. And this is something we're seeing.
So
with
that is
current...
true.
Yes,
that is true. But I just want to be clear though, there is still a speed benefit. It's not like the user experience side of things. Like if let's say, let's go with 2 example networks. Let's go with Moonriver on Kusama trying to send a Moonriver token to Binance Smart Chain, right? The user would be able to send one MOVR token from Moonriver directly to Binance Smart Chain, and it would arrive there without having to like mint a token on Icon and then send another transaction to mint a token on another chain. You don't need to do that. But all the messages that verify the security of it, that verify that this transaction was actually requested and actually happening, that gets verified on the Icon network. So the end user doesn't have to deal with this. But in terms of an application developer, you want to be, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm still torn about this, depending on how important these things turn out in the future. But I do think, if we want the fastest cross-chain transactions, you want to be built on a hub.
And there'd also be in that scenario, there'd still be the fee to the auction pool too, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I want to say yes. Yeah, because yeah, the fee is collected at the 100%.
Transaction. Yeah. So I think this is really important, because I know I was drilling Icongrapher as well, and he may have come through to you with this particular question, because the selling point is it connects with the BTP component. I guess the closing before the call just randomly went bye-bye. It was a big important calling point for me was, well, if BTP, with the relays, etc., how does Icon come back into it, especially if they can bypass what aspect? Is there something happening where, the chain Icon is still needed? And I think your explanation earlier has just confirmed that messages that they are coming back to the hub and recorded there. So it is that point of finality in a way. So
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And that was, I know, even in off conversations I've been having, this was a sticky point once we start getting into BTP, especially people who aren't technical that start discussing it, which is usually very scary to people's views to have. But yeah, cool. Okay,
actually, BTP is not that complicated. All right, here's my synopsis of BTP. Our host chain creates a fake token. We pass it off to another chain that creates a token. The two intercollide and the transaction takes place, and the two tokens are destroyed. It's not that complicated. It's not some esoteric thing, actually. It's really kind of simple. Your host network.
I said it better myself.
Yeah. I think Dusty, you've just covered it perfectly, and it wasn't about that. It was more making sure everyone understood that just because I guess the tokens don't pass through the Icon chain doesn't mean once BTP is established, the Icon chain doesn't play its part, which Scott confirmed as well. I think 3 minutes. Okay, so Scott, there were a couple of questions. I'll quickly just community questions that got asked. Arush, he asked, and I don't know if you will be able to answer this, but he did ask, is there any news with regards to potential BTP integration with Solana? I know we've asked you this in the past as well. Can you break any grounds there?
I mean, I could say that I'm looking into it, or working with TJ to look into it and trying to find developer talent to work on it. The Solana ecosystem is pretty, it's somewhat.
Talk to Russ, man. Talk to Russ.
Right. Yeah.
Talk to Russ. He got it, man. His co-developer runs the whole Solana network for Ubit Capital. Man, it can happen.
Yep.
Seriously.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah,
right, cool.
Solana is definitely on the radar.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then the last one. Oh no, I don't have. The only other thing. No, that's it. That's all I have. If there's nothing else, the only other thing that I did promise was a bit of an exclusive to the community. It's a shame we lost the call because we lost quite a lot of people. But in a couple of hours, something, and Scott, you warned me you're not briefed on this, so I'll just share a little bit. One of the things that the foundation and Scott and everyone, community, and how can they reward it? So in a couple of hours, there's going to be a bit of news drop where the foundation is kicking off a bit of a bounty program, rewarding community members around creating content on different topics, Icon related, or just getting, articles, videos, you name it. The community can use their imagination, and actually getting community members will get rewarded for the hard work they put in. So stay tuned in a couple of hours. What's really cool about what the team have done here is they have kind of created this and built it into the genesis, the creation of Icon, and so its name is different, but there's an explanation and there's an ethos around it, which I love, because when I saw it first, I'm like, what the heck? And then when I read why. The first thing it's addressed why the program is called what it's called. I thought it was quite cool. But overall, it comes back to creating content. There'll be bounties for content that needs to be created, whether it be videos, articles, deep diving into BTP, etc. And there'll be a timeline given, and the community can go out there, write articles, create content, and submit it, and then we'll be awarded money, actual physical BNUSD. There you go, first utility outside of Balanced. Scott, any thoughts to share on that?
Let's see. I mean, I'm really excited about HX57 and kind of bringing back the original community group from the early days of translating material into different languages. So, it's going to be a great initiative, and I'm pretty sure Fez, you kind of brought that to all of our attention from other ecosystems as a good initiative, and I agree, and we made it happen, and that's what's important.
Yep, no worries. No, I love that you all acted on it so quickly, Scott. It's great to see. And just this is my personal 2 cents. Is I hound Scott regularly about many things, so and he always responds. I know there's a few other things Scott's gotten involved in, and we should see some announcements around that as well. So people shouldn't feel bad to reach out, but at the same time also help and aid the process along the way. That's a big call out. Like it's not, hey Scott, have you thought about this, and then walk away and go, yeah, I'll leave that to Scott. No, it's actually getting in there and helping the team create and put it together, or suggest and feedback, etc. So that's cool. Really look forward to that. I think in 2 hours we should have an announcement and a separate website. It'll be quite cool. So it'll be great for the community to really start sharing it around and actively get involved in it. That's all I have. Scott, we're going over time. Thank you for making yourself available again. Lots of cool things. I think one of the next things I'm looking forward to is this block by block reward. I really enjoyed it every 2 hours coming and seeing the own stash builds. So it'll be great. And I know once Balance gets that block by block rewards, once we see Optimus launch, the yield aggregators will benefit. Or their strategies will benefit as well, because essentially once everything's block by block, the aggregators can kind of compound rewards, etc., block by block, and your yield can go up dramatically based on that. So cool. Thank you, Scott.
Yep, good stuff, Ez. Thanks for doing this as always. Appreciate it. Talk to you guys later.
Take care. Thank you.